Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Virtual Group Network and the Bootleg Racing League. Welcome you to the Dirt Street Stock Series. We're here at Eldora Speedway tonight, famously owned by Tony Stewart in Ohio. I'm Austin Belkey, and the production trailer is director and producer Mike Yao. We'd like to thank him for being with us all. Fantastic camera angles as always. The drivers are currently right now in their 20-minute practice. We've got about 10 or so minutes left of that before the end of this thing wraps up, and then they of course go to qualifying. You're just now joining us for the start of a new season. It's hard to believe that this many seasons has passed and it's time for another one, so we'd like to thank you for joining us once again. Is it going to be the same old deal as always? Brandon Proudfoot winning, kicking butt, taking names? How many winners are we going to have this season? We've got a lot of drivers on hand here tonight. So far, it's about 10 or 12, but we hope to see more, and I expect to see more trickle in here in the next couple of minutes. Typical dirt street stock racing action for you. After the qualifying, that's of course over 4 laps, best lap counts, none of that Indy qualifying for right now. We're then going to have heat races where the top 2 in every heat advance into the feature event right off the bat. If you're fast enough and do good enough in your heat, of course they're all 6 laps long, you're in automatically. You don't have to worry before you go into the consolation races. In those, we then fill up the field. The field is, of course, going to cap off at about 18 drivers. So the fastest 18 that show up are going to make it. I don't expect to have more than 18 here tonight. So odds are, if you're here in the session, all these drivers make it. And that really is, of course, so important for these guys to have, to know that, you know, you put aside all the time for this event. And so to realize that you can make it for sure is always a great feeling. You can see some of the track notes on your screen right there, of course. Dirt oval, 0.44 miles in length, 87 degrees is the air temperature, 59% humidity, partly cloudy with 9-mile-an-hour winds for the iRacing weather. You can see we're, of course, in Rossburg, Ohio. There you can see some more of the details. Both the contests are all 8 laps long. The warm-up, of course, consists of 5 minutes. We're going to get to that after the consolation races, and then just before that 40-lap feature event. Most importantly for the 40 laps, again, like I mentioned, 18 racers going to be in that affair. But more importantly, for the first 30 laps, if we have a caution that comes out, we restart double file wide. And of course, caution laps don't count. So only the green flag racing is going to count for this race tonight. So hopefully you folks at home will have quite the show. I expect it'll be a really good show. Eldora always puts on some really fantastic racing. Inside the last 10 laps to go, though, we go down to single car restart, single file restart, so there's no more wishing you were in the top lane or in the bottom lane. If we can focus now on some of the drivers out here in practice, you can see a bunch of drivers currently trying out the different lines. Eldora is one of those places where you can run on the high side, you can run down on the low side. A lot of the drivers out there right now, one of them, William Hargraves, he's been doing really good here tonight, especially fast all season long. He's been super good, super consistent, so it's nice to see him out here once again, still trying that high side. For the most part, the line's going to start on that low side, and then as the track kind of slicks off, the drivers are going to go closer and closer up to that wall. At some point, we're going to talk to our in-race reporter and kind of ask them what the deal is with the track, what they're feeling, where the speed is in this bad thing for the most part, and kind of just decide where you want to run. Usually it's more or less of a death sentence if you're down on the bottom, especially on the restarts. So we'll have to see what happens here as things unfold. It's not always super deadly to be down on the bottom. Sometimes you only lose a position or two, or sometimes the driver to your outside might get really squirrely coming off of a turn and just allow you to barely kind of slide up there and get to the outside, so you kind of stop the bleeding. For the most part. We're just sorting out some technical difficulties here, so if you'll bear with us, we should be through those in just 1 second. We'd like to thank you for sticking with us there. We should be back. Hopefully everything should be better than it was before we took that brief kind of momentary lapse in coverage there. Cody Jones, the man in the number 27 machine, currently doing pretty good out there for himself. Currently he's running about 13th on the timing charts, but it's not always super critical that you go out there and you put down a really good lap. For the most part, what we always see in these practice sessions is the drivers that get here first usually lay down the fastest laps, because when we start out, the track is super grippy. It's really tacky everywhere, and even the low line has as much grip right now as you'll see that the top does. So you go out there, of course, the shortest way around the track is on the bottom. So if you can rip the bottom effectively and efficiently, it'll be a much faster lap than just being up there around the top. And even to start out, the top is faster before it gets all slicked off. So maybe Cody Jones just got in here a little bit late. We're, of course, riding along with him right now, and you can see him kind of setting up the lap here. He's trying out that middle line for the time being. Gets a little bit squirrely, then decides to go down low. But there's a lot of drivers out there hunting around for grip. Another one of those guys is Kevin Nunn. Currently, he has the 10th fastest time here in practice. You can see Kevin, again, utilizing that middle line. It's really important here in practice to see where your car behaves the best and where it does the worst, just in case you are restarting on the low side. You really need to see how your car performs in the middle of the track, just in case you're down there in a poor scenario for you. But of course, you're really going to understand how your car is going to handle if you're forced to start on the bottom. That way you're not surprised, because 9 times out of 10 when you're surprised in a race car, you're probably going to spin out. So that's just sort of what happens. But anyways, you see a lot of the drivers currently, no surprise, up at the top of the timing sheets. Brandon Proudfoot currently the fastest, followed by Johnny Ratley. Jeffrey Harden right now has the 3rd fastest time on the time sheets. Really impressive and exciting, refreshing, of course, as well, to see Jeffrey up there. Of course, Jeffrey comes from asphalt racing. Past, I guess, is where I've seen him actually cut his teeth the most in iRacing. We've raced a lot with him. So you can see that here's D.V. Runkle, the milkman, in the number 44 car. Taking another good look at him. Still one of those guys trying out that middle line right now. It seems like the top is slicked off enough in this short practice that these guys are trying to go down on the bottom, looking for more speed. Bobby Hayes currently 4th on the time sheets, followed by Hunter Hill in 5th. William Hargraves is a bit further down than he usually is, as is Billy Northcutt, but not really any surprise. These are just practice times. They could have got into the session a little bit late. J.R. Shepard currently smack dab in the middle of the timing charts right now. He's one of those drivers that doesn't have a whole lot of one-lap pace, especially short run pace. Usually one of those drivers is JR on the asphalt side, especially really good at conserving his tires to make sure he can go longer and faster into a run. You see Ryan Seneca on the screen. Seneca in that really wide numbered 19 car. You might be wondering, why are the numbers that wide? They take up almost the entirety of the gap between the two axles. And that's because he's throwing it back to a family member. Of course, the famous Michigan Family Racing Seneca is up there, and that's what his dad used to run. That's why you see those giant wide number 19 on there. Again, looking back at Mr. Runkle, currently 12th on the time sheets on the 44 machine. Now Cody Jones in the 27. These two drivers still up there ripping the lip to see what kind of speed they can have. I'll be really interested to see where these guys end up running the most as we get to the qualifying, because it's really interesting. You'll see the track reset. Right now, the track starts in practice at about 0%, and as the practice goes on, we've got about 15 guys out here running laps right now, just kind of beating the track, kind of making it slick off just a little bit, so it's more racy usually. So when qualifying starts, practice ends. Qualifying starts, track resets back to 0% state. That means it's all super tacky. The low line I expect to be really fast, but you know, sometimes these guys can get away with running the high side. The tricky thing is, though, with running the high side, if you just barely so much as tap the wall, you'll get a 0x in iRacing. X's, of course, are incidents, and if you have a single incident over your lap, it's invalidated by iRacing timing and scoring. And if you do that in qualifying, that lap doesn't count. So now your 4 laps to set your fastest becomes 3. And if you do it right by the start-finish line, you might double tap the wall, and then your 4 laps becomes only 2. So these drivers are going to have to be extremely careful. You can see Cody Jones trying to work over Runkle here in practice, just to kind of put the moves on. And of course, practice, this is what it's for. Go out there, make some mistakes, and see what sticks and see what doesn't. Pretty cool here to see Christopher Hill also joining the session in the 5 machine. We'll see what he can do. He's going to join a little bit after the practice here, so his first laps are going to be in qualifying. Nothing wrong with that, though. Sometimes the best practice is in qualifying. Really puts the pressure on. Checkered flag flies in practice, so we'll move on to qualifying next. 15 drivers, 16 actually currently in here, so 2 more drivers can join, and still no one will go home before the end of the night. See the session now changing over. The first driver out there is going to be Cody Jones in the number 27 car. See what kind of lap time he can put down. What I expect to see here, he's going to go to the high side and then about halfway through the corner, arc the car down, try to straighten up that exit. No, he's going to choose a high line still. We'll see how this works for him. So far, you can see he's got the fastest sector 2 time, Jeffrey Harden. The slowest for him, but a personal best. That's what those bars on the bottom mean. The first half of that is sector 1. The second half is sector 2. Purple denotes the fastest time in that sector for the entire session. And then a green bar denotes the fastest time for that driver in this session. So you can see Cody Jones puts out a 20.082. Jeffrey Harden goes out with a 19.697. Stomping the lap time by Jones. Joe Segala out there as well. You can see Hayes, Segala, Runkle, and Hargraves out there. Hargraves now shoots up to the top with a 19.667. That's only 3/100ths above the time that Jeffrey Harden put down. That was quite the lap by Harden. Right now we're looking at Joe Segala. You can see Bobby Hayes with the fastest first sector. Joe putting down a personal best in the first sector and the second sector. Bobby Hayes goes up to provisional pole with a 19.642. That's about 2/100ths over William Hargraves this time. You can see John Wilson, Cody Jones, Jeffrey Harden right now putting in solid laps, but not their best so far. Chris Hill goes out there with some personal best sectors, as does Kevin Nunn. Bobby Hayes still out there, not going to beat his best time. Johnny Ratley goes out there and puts down a personal best. Not a whole lot of movement for the time being at the top of the timing sheet. To see John Wilson throw down a 19.913. Cody Jones puts down a personal best of a 19.9. That's a lot better than that 20 we saw him put down earlier. Still Bobby Hayes on provisional pole. Bobby Hayes goes fastest in the first sector. Johnny Ratley goes up to the top of the board. You can see Ratley didn't do that with any purple sectors. He just had green sectors in both 1 and 2 and ends up coming out with the fastest lap. Interesting of note, too, you see Johnny Ratley, William Hargraves, both currently in the pit lane. You see a lot of drivers go out there, they'll throw down a fast lap or 2, and then they'll go back down pit road to kind of save their next 2 laps to see if they need to go out there and do anything else. Maybe they're taking a look at the competition here on the broadcast to see maybe if they're running up high in 3 and 4 and down low in 1 and 2, just to see what's going on there. You see this is the always champ here, Brandon Proudfoot in the number 22 machine. It's very hard to bet against Brandon. He's so fast, so good at reading the track. See Brandon puts up a 3rd fastest time there. J.R. Shepard out on track as well. J.R. goes 5th fastest for the time being and then puts his car back. No, excuse me, that's William Hargraves putting his car down on pit road. This is the 5 car of Chris Hill. Puts down a personal best in sector 1, not quite in sector 2. You can see Jason Menda, J.R. Shepard, Brandon Proudfoot still out there on the track. Hunter Hill puts down a personal best, as does Chris Hill. So does J.R. Shepard. Things are picking up here in the last couple laps of qualifying. See J.R. Shepard coming through turns 3 and 4 one more time. Should have gone faster that time. He does. J.R. Shepard jumps up to 3rd on the timing sheets here in qualifying. He was in 5th before he completed that lap. He shoots on up to 3rd. You can see the next lap he's doing not quite as fast for him. The Billy Northcutt still out there. Brandon Proudfoot. Johnny Ratley comes back out on track. You can see that purple bar underneath his name. That means that's the fastest sector 1 time. Not the fastest sector 2 time for him. William Hargraves shoots up to the top of the timing sheets with a 19.587. That is a blisteringly fast lap from him. Puts him on provisional pole for the time being. If you're Johnny Ratley, you got to be scratching your head, man. What do I have to do to come out of this with the pole award? Of course, Hargraves pipping Ratley by about 2/1000ths of a second. That's pretty insane stuff. You see Brandon Proudfoot still out there on track. He's slowing down. You can see the delta on your screen there as well. And obviously that car looking slow too. We've got about 40 more seconds, 30 closer to it, left in qualifying. Currently, the man on provisional pole is William Hargraves, followed by Johnny Ratley. Billy Northcutt lines up in third. J.R. Shepard currently has the fourth fastest time, with Brandon Proudfoot rounding out the top five. Johnny Ratley looks like he's trying to make another lap here. No, he's pulling back into the pits. I think he's used all of his laps up here for the time being. This is the 00 car of Billy Northcutt. He seems to be just kind of out there going super slow, getting a little bit more TV time. Hits the inside wall there for good measure, does Northcutt. That's the end of qualifying. Get the qualifying results up on your screen in just a second. But first we have heat racing. Of course, if you're unfamiliar with heats take the fastest time in qualifying, and then we split the field in half. So you'll have half the field lining up in one heat and half the field lining up in the other. Heat number one starts like this. William Hargraves lines up on pole with Billy Northcutt to his outside. Row number two is composed of Brandon Proudfoot, followed by Jeffrey Harden. Row number three has John Wilson and Hunter Hill. Rounding out the field is Cody Jones and D.V. Runkle. 8 cars in this first heat. We're going to have 8 cars in the next heat as well. Real quickly, I just want to mention how good a run this is so far by Jeffrey Harden. It's really neat to see him up there in that 35 machine doing so well here on the dirt, really mixing it up there with the proverbial dirt car racing guys like Hargraves, Northcutt, and Proudfoot. So Harden definitely the slowest of the dirt guys and the fastest of the asphalt guys. So quite the enviable position if you're behind Jeffrey, especially for a lot of the guys in this league. They didn't start out doing dirt. The BRL is, for the most part, a pavement short track racing league. And of course, in late 2019, we made the switch to doing dirt racing. We've been hooked ever since. The lights are out atop the iRacing pace truck, so next time by the start finish line, we're going to go green flag racing for you here. William Hargraves last season put on one heck of a show, won a lot of races ever since he changed this new paint scheme there with the more colorful numbers. So we'll see if he can continue that sort of domination we usually see from him, and we'll have to see if Brandon Proudfoot finally loses that streak of luck that he always seems to have. The iRacing pace car pulls down pit road. In just a second, he's going to give command of the field over to William Hargraves. There goes the pace truck. Hargraves can fire anytime he wants off of turn number 4. As soon as the pace truck's off the track, he does so. It is barely clear of Billy Northcutt just to his outside. You see these drivers fanning out 3, 4, 5 different lanes they could choose from. Hargraves and Northcutt choose the middle of the track. You saw Brandon Proudfoot really ride that top lane, kind of ripping the lip. And for Proudfoot, this is really important if he wants to lock himself into the feature event. If he wants to skip both the consies, kind of avoid that sort of I'm not going to say anxiety, maybe stress-inducing moments here in the next couple minutes. If he can get into this top 2, he's guaranteeing himself a top 4 starting spot for the feature event. Right now, looking to the outside of Billy Northcutt as they come through turns number 3 and 4. Not quite close enough. Northcutt actually going to challenge Hargraves for the lead. That's Hargraves on the outside in the 71. Northcutt on the inside in the 0 car. Down the back straightaway, they're neck and neck. Momentum now shifting to Hargraves on the high side. Northcutt, really smart though, tucks back up inside, back up behind Hargraves to make sure that Proudfoot couldn't get to his outside. They're side by side once again coming off the corner. You see Northcutt stuff it into turns number 1 and 2. Not quite even as they come off the corner. Now they are even. Momentum shifts back to the top side. Proudfoot going to take advantage of Northcutt there down on the low side. So for the most part, right now, move Brandon Proudfoot up to the number 2 position, making a look to make it 3 wide. That hole closed just for a second, though. Brandon was thinking about it. I'm not quite sure what he would have done down there, but of course, lap number 5 out of 6, 2 laps to go. They're going to come by to get the white flag this time by. Looks like William Hargraves has the win for the moment. Right now, it's all up to that number 2 position. which driver advances to the final spot of the feature automatically. White flag out, 1 lap to go. Northcutt goes all the way down to the bottom, pulls ahead there of Hargreaves. You see Proudfoot now puts it all the way down to the bottom. They're 3 wide as they head down into turns number 3 and 4. Look at Proudfoot all the way down on the bottom. Going to pull a slide job here, come all the way up the track. Get up there, Brandon. He gets all the way up there, going to block off Hargreaves. Proudfoot goes from 3rd to 1st. Billy Northcutt finishes 2nd. And the man who put it on pole for the entire event comes home in 3rd. So he'll have the pole position. Not all is lost in the first of the consolation races. There's your heat results. Heat number 1 results on your screen. Brandon Proudfoot wins. Billy Northcutt 2nd. William Hargreaves in 3rd. For the heat number 2 starting order, Johnny Ratley, after qualifying P2 overall, starts on the pole. J.R. Shepard starts to his outside in row number 1. In row number 2, it's Bobby Hayes in 3rd. Jason Menda rolls off 4th. Row number 3 is Chris Hill on the inside. Joe Segala on the outside. Rounding out the field, Kevin Nunn and Ryan Seneker. iRacing pace truck pulls off of pit road, begins to lead these drivers around the track. You can see Johnny Ratley choosing to start on the high side. And BRL, the leader, does have lane choice and starts and restarts on the dirt. On asphalt, it's not the same, unfortunately. But on dirt, that leader does get the choice. So you really want to be in either 1st or 4th if you're on a top dominant track. Lights now out atop the iRacing pace truck. Johnny Ratley's chosen the high side. Jason Mendes probably licking his chops at the moment. But of course, Bobby Hayes starting in the same place that Brandon Proudfoot did. So we'll see what Bobby can do, of course, if Proudfoot's past performance in heat number 1 is any indication. Bobby Hayes is going to come home with a win in his fistful of water car. So see what Bobby can do here. iRacing pace truck getting ready to pull down pit road. All eyes shift to Johnny Ratley on the high side, getting ready to fire whenever he'd like to. He puts his foot on the loud pedal, scoots away from the field. J.R. Shepard able to go up into the high side. A little bit of connection issues there for J.R. Has to shoot the car down to the low side. J.R. is going to want to get up high as soon as he can to try and block off the run from Jason Menda. He does that indeed. Jason relegated himself to 4th right there. Bobby Hayes slipping back to 4th. Menda, relegated from 4th to 3rd. Still working the high side. You see Chris Hill trying to make a move there. That's for P4. Menda up in the P3. J.R. Shepard currently trying to hunt out Johnny Ratley as they come out of turn number 2. Whoa, a lot of cars getting sideways out of that turn. Track slicking off there. Still the high side is where you want to be. You see Johnny Ratley going down to the low side, trying to block off the momentum from J.R. Shepard. And what he's trying to do right here, if you see Johnny Ratley go to the low side, he's trying to prevent J.R. Shepard from pulling a slide job. Slide job is when you see a car dart down to the inside on corner entry and slide up in front of the car on the outside and use that to take away one of the positions. To try and prevent that happening, the leader puts his car all the way down on the bottom as well to make sure that the passing car can't go any deeper without sliding up the track or making contact. Kind of moved as a kind of a tactic to block. You see Ratley still out front. J.R. Shepard in 2nd. Jason Menda still 3rd, followed by Bobby Hayes. And Christopher Hill still battling for that 4th position. Martin the flagman giving them 2 laps to go signal this time by. It's still Ratley. He's got Shepard pretty well covered right now. I think JR, with the gap he has, kind of just riding around. It's about a 7/10 of a second gap from JR to Jason Menda just behind. White flag in the air this time. 1 lap to go. It's still Ratley over Shepard. The top 2 spots seem pretty well taken care of at this point. Menda seems to be a shoo-in for 3rd. For the 4th place, though, you can see Chris Hill, Bobby Hayes still battling it out pretty well. But Johnny Ratley comes off at turn number 4 to take the checkered flag. J.R. Shepard joins him and automatically advancing himself into the feature event. Jason Menda comes home in 3rd, Chris Hill 4th, Bobby Hayes 5th, Joe Segala 6th, Ryan Seneker in 7th. Kevin Nunn rounds out the 8-car field. You can see the results and the distance between all the cars on your screen as we get ready to go into the C-Main. William Hargreaves finished 3rd in heat number 1, so he, of course, sits on the pole for this race. Hunter Hill starts in 2nd. Jeffrey Harden rolls off in 3rd. Don Wilson starts in 4th. Cody Jones lines up at 5th. And D.V. Runkle rounds out your 6-car field. Currently, all the spots on the roster are accounted for, so all the drivers that signed up for the race automatically put into the feature event. This is for some points. This is also for starting position in the feature event. 40-lap feature event here coming up in about the next 10 minutes or so, give or take. All these drivers are fighting for. It's not a go or go home situation, thankfully, for these drivers. I know as fans and as a spectator or a commentator, you always hope to see kind of that raw emotion and the fight in some of these drivers who kind of have a last chance to go home or sit and watch the race with us here in the bleachers or the commentary box. We're on YouTube, of course, like you folks at home. We'd like to thank you once again for being here with us on the Virtual Grip Network, watching the BRL Dirt Street Stock Series. We're here at Eldora Speedway. iRacing pace truck rolls across the start-finish line, switches his lights off, giving us the 1-to-go signal for the race. Doesn't look like John Wilson is going to make the field for tonight's C-Main event, so hopefully he can make it back in here to ensure his spot in the feature. Otherwise, it looks like he'll be one of the drivers going home on a night where really you're guaranteed a spot to start in the feature, excuse me. iRacing pace truck rolls through turns 3 and 4 one final time, pulls that thing down a pit road. No cautions in the heats or these consolation races. Hargraves puts his foot on the loud pedal extremely early. You see the number 12 car, Hunter Hill. He says, I like to go up to the top side to stop the bleeding as soon as I can. Make sure I don't get passed by anyone else. You see Jeffrey Harden puts his car on the low side, trying to make lemonade here out of lemons with the position he was given. Of course, Jeffrey starting in the third position, excuse me, so down on the low side, trying to see if he can't get up to the top side there and stop that bleeding. He finally does, as you see Runkle there, just barely hit the wall in that third position. You see Hunter Hill's trying to hunt down William Hargraves in the 71 car. William obviously stayed on pole for this event after sitting on pole for heat number 1 and then losing out the top 2 spots to, I believe that was Brandon Proudfoot and Billy Northcutt in that heat. See the drivers now rushing down the back stretch. That's Runkle on the outside, Harden on the inside. Harden trying to get that position away from him. Obviously there's points on the line as well as a better starting position. But you can really see just how strong the high side is right now. Runkle even tapping the wall just then, kind of upsetting the car. It should slow him down just a little bit, but even then Harden not able to take advantage. Hargraves currently has about a half a second lead over Hunter Hill. And then Hunter's got about 6 or 7 tenths back to Runkle. Cody Jones looking on the inside of Harden. Harden looking on the inside of Runkle. Runkle hits the outside wall one more time for good measure in turns number 1 and 2. He's been having a pretty difficult time there, just trying to settle the car up in the high side. It's very different from driving a short track, especially usually on short tracks. You'll want to put the car into that bottom lane, kind of just right up next to the apron, whereas in the dirt series, especially on dirt when you want to rip the lip or right on the high side, the Kyle Larson line, that's why he's so comfortable with it. On dirt side, you really have to be because 9 times out of 10, the fast line's going to go all the way up to the wall. Even when the track's as slick as it normally gets to be, the fastest way around here is still up next to the wall. You get that cushion that kind of helps the car stay on the track and not in the wall. 2 laps to go this time by Hargraves now at the 6/10 of a second lead over Hunter Hill. Those 2 drivers driving away from Runkle. Runkle still sits in the 3rd position. Then it's Harden, Cody Jones. John Wilson has finally joined us out on the track after having some technical issues with his internet, so good to see him at least making the field for tonight's feature event. You see Harden tries to get all the way down there to low on the inside. White flag, of course, in the air. Last lap here, we're going to complete that in just a couple seconds. You see Hargraves now coming out of turns number 3 and 4 to take the checkered flag. The first consolation race. Hunter Hill started in 2nd. He finishes 2nd. Jeffrey Harden barely beating Runkle there for the 3rd position. Runkle up from 6th to 4th. Cody Jones started 5th. He'll finish there, and John Wilson, after those technical difficulties, rounds out the field, finishes in the 6th position. There's the C-Main results on your screen. That's how those drivers are going to line up on the inside from 6th on back. This is the consolation race number 2, the B-Main lining order. Jason Menda starts on the pole, followed by Chris Hill on the outside. Bobby Hayes lines up in third, Joe Segala in fourth, Ryan Seneker fifth. Kevin Nunn rounds out your 6-car field. This is for the rest of the positions. This is for 7th through the rest of the field, starting on the outside. So still a lot up for grabs. The better you finish in this race is basically 2 more cars you get to start ahead of in the feature event. iRacing Pace Truck pulls off pit road. Jason Menda follows him, chooses to start on the outside. Lights go out atop the iRacing Pace Truck. 1 more lap to go, and then that thing's going to pull off the racetrack and give command of the field over to Jason Menda. Jason choosing that high side. No surprise there. The high side has been the fastest all night long, even in events where the car on the inside is normally about a 10th or 2 of a lap quicker. It's still more difficult to pass on the low side than you would think. Chris Hill starts to Jason's inside, and Joe Segala looking to be the lucky winner here. Of course, starting the first car behind the pole sitter on the high side. iRacing Pace Truck pulls off down pit road. Jason Menda can start whenever he wants, puts his foot on the loud pedal, catches Joe Segala sleeping. Unfortunate for Joe, he's going to lose out on the 2 positions he would have been able to gain, so he starts 4th and continues to run 4th, but Christopher Hill and Bobby Hayes looking out for the most part because they automatically get to slide up. Don't get to be freight trained by the drivers up on the high side. Jason Menda still ripping the lip up there. We'll see if Christopher Hill can do anything once he catches up to him. Currently, I think the only thing these drivers can do is a slide job. We'll see if that happens. Eldora is pretty famous for the slide job. You see even Bobby Hayes getting up into the mix here. Jason Menda goes down low to cover a slide job there by Christopher Hill. Menda's car gets super upset in the middle of the corner, forces him to get loose. He bobbles quite a bit. Christopher Hill takes the lead. You see Jason Menda throws the car down into turns number 1 and 2. That is a textbook slide job. He pulled that off really nicely. Blocks some momentum there for Christopher Hill. That's got to be aggravating as a driver when somebody comes up and just kind of blocks your momentum. Menda, fortunate enough to stay on the high side. He's going to retain the lead this time by the start-finish stripe. Christopher Hill still down low on the inside. Menda barely scrapes the wall, checks him up just a tad, but he's still going to have the momentum on the high side. Almost gets completely clear of Christopher Hill before they go down into turns number 3 and 4. You can see he'll try to make the inside work. Barely noses ahead of Menda as they come off the corner, but Menda still leads that lap. We're about halfway through this final consolation race, and we've got 5 minutes of warm-up. Christopher Hill still challenging Menda on the low side. Hill throws the car into turns number 3 and 4. Still Menda, though. He's going to have the momentum when they come off at turn 4. Not quite close enough to clear him. That's Hill getting extremely loose coming off the corner. That allows Bobby Hayes to get up to his outside. Hayes smacks the outside wall going into turns number 1 and 2. Menda still all the momentum in the world. Going to clear Christopher Hill. Now it's a battle for P2. That's Hill on the outside. Bobby Hayes on the inside. See what Bobby can do here with Christopher coming off of turn number 4. Momentum shifts still to the high side. Christopher Hill still clear into position number 2. Bobby Hayes trying to get down to the inside to see what he can do with Jason Menda, but the high side is just too strong for the time being. They're going to get the white flag to go this time by. Momentum just barely covering off Christopher Hill's slide job there. White flag in the air, 1 more lap to go. It's still Menda up top with the lead. Christopher Hill on the bottom looking to see what he can do. You see Menda really drive the car as low as possible coming off of turn number 2. Straighten the exit out. I expect him to go all the way down the track right here to cover off a slide job. He does that indeed. You can see just how sideways Christopher Hill is getting there. It's going to be a drag race off turn number 4. Jason Menda, Christopher Hill, Bobby Hayes, your top 3. Joe Segala finishing in the 4th position. You can see the B main results on your screen right now. An extremely tight race for the win in that B main. If that's any indication of what we're going to have here tonight, we're going to be in for quite the show. The Drivers are currently going out on track for a 5-minute warm-up session. This is really crucial if you're someone like Billy Northcutt or Brandon Proudfoot who hasn't been out on the track in the past maybe 10, 20, 15 or so minutes. And it just gives them an opportunity to kind of feel where all the grip is, see what the car handles like on the top side, see what it's like on the middle or on the low side, and just kind of understand how the car is going to hook up as they come off the corner. Maybe if you're the leader, like Proudfoot's going to be, he can decide if he still wants to start on the high side or if he'd rather start on the low side because there's a lot of grip down there. It's really hard to tell. And of course, if any driver is going to be able to go out there and kind of see where all the grip is and feel it, it, of course, is going to be the driver, number 22, Brandon Proudfoot. You can see puts down the fastest time of the session. We're going to see if we can't dial up here the proverbial perennial champ, Brandon Proudfoot, currently out there seeing what the track is like. Brandon, Austin up in the VGN booth, you got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Hey, Brandon, first off, not the best run in qualifying. Usually we expect to see you up there on the pole. You've been kind of talking about not having the best one-lap pace in qualifying, but of course, if any driver is going to go out there and start not on the pole and win the race, it's you, being able to see where all the grip is. Fantastic win in that first heat, by the way, so congratulations for that. Obviously gets you the pole for the feature event. What's the track feeling like, buddy?
The top is in session. It's starting to get a little bumpy going into the corner, and then there's a lot of guys hitting the wall, but the closer you get to that wall, the better the grip gets. And I have the top time by about a tenth right now, and there's a lot of grip on the exits of the corner specifically, so as long as you don't hit the wall going in, you can usually carry your momentum through a good amount of the track up at the top right now. But the safer bet is definitely to run the bottom, but with risk comes reward.
For sure. Like I mentioned, the top is in session. Is class going to be in session? You going to school these guys once again, Brandon?
Well, I told Billy and William, ironically, before the heat race even started, that I owe them for not showing up for the finals week. So I owe them 2 weeks of whooping here. So I'm going to see how much I can gap and hopefully go caution free.
10-4, buddy. We're hoping we can go caution-free as well, get this thing all wrapped up for the fans without any of that downtime we get from the cautions. Thank you so much for talking with us, Brandon.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Yep, good luck, buddy. That was Brandon Proudfoot, driver of the number 22 machine. See if we can't get another driver up here in the booth to talk with us. I'd like to take a second to talk to Jason Menda, the man who just won the most recent consolation race. Jason, Austin up in the booth. You got me?
I got you.
Hey, buddy, not very often I get to talk to you on Friday nights, especially during one of these affairs. Wow, congratulations, man.
Appreciate it. They made it a little tough on me there.
Yeah, they did. Christopher was really working you on the high side and the low side, but you did a great job covering them off every single time you had to, just kind of using that momentum, and there was a lot of clean racing there. You guys never bumped doors. He might have gotten the wall a couple times going to the corner, but you drove a fantastically clean race, so that was superb.
Appreciate it. Yeah, Christopher was, that first time he went to the inside, I think I kind of cut him off a little bit, but I didn't know he was there, so apologize for that, but yeah, it was a good, clean race.
Jason rolling off in 6th position, going to be starting on the high side, looking to take advantage of the people starting on the low side?
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to go down low.
Yeah, it's quite the death sentence if you're down low. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Best of luck in the race, buddy.
All right, appreciate it.
Jason Menda, driver of the number 45, of course, won the most recent consolation race. You can see the checkered flag is flying in the warm-up session. These drivers have gotten a chance to go out there, see what the track is like, see how the cars are handling. Track temperature vastly different from where it was when we started. The air temperature is very much lower indeed. Partly cloudy track temperature, currently 75 degrees, so a little bit cooler than it was when we started the night out. As I mentioned earlier, Brandon Proudfoot lines up on the pole after winning heat number 1. Johnny Ratley starts on the outside of the front row for the time being. He'll probably be on the inside sooner or later. I assume Brandon's going to want to be up on top. Like you mentioned, top is in session. Billy Northcutt lines up in third, followed by J.R. Shepard. All 4 of those drivers locked themselves into the first 4 starting spots by finishing in the top 2 of both of their heats, respectively. William Hargraves, Jason Menda complete row number 3. Both those drivers won their consolation races, and if you have a good enough memory, you can see the rest of the drivers throughout the field finishing, starting in those same positions in the respective rows that they finished in for the consolation races. So you can see Hargraves 5th, Menda 6th. Hunter Hill lines up in 7th. Christopher Hill starts in 8th, so it's an all-Hill 4th row. Jeffrey Harden lines up in 9th with Bobby Hayes. They complete the 5th row. D.V. Runkle lines up at 11th with Joe Segala starting his outside in the 12th position. Cody Jones lines up in 13th. Ryan Seneca starts in 14th. John Wilson starts 15th after the internet connectivity problems he had in his consolation race. And Kevin Nunn rounds out the 16-car field. The lights are out atop the iRacing pace truck. We'll be going back green this time by. Brandon Proudfoot has chosen to start on the high side. iRacing pace truck pulls down pit road, gives command of the field over to Proudfoot. A round turn number 4, Proudfoot puts his foot on the loud pedal, almost immediately catches a lot of the field. Napping allows Ratley to almost get all the way up into the high side there. J.R. Shepard still holding on strong in the 4th position, probably going to be 3rd as they come off at turn number 2. It is for the moment. They're 3 wide for the 2nd spot, almost 3 wide for the 5th spot as well. Still Proudfoot on the outside. Ratley trying to put up an extremely good fight on the low side. J.R. Shepard looking to follow Proudfoot through on the high side. Contact made between Northcutt and Hargraves. You can still hear the fireworks going off in the background. They're still 3 wide for that 3rd position. Now 2 wide for the 1st spot. That's Ratley on the inside. Proudfoot on the outside. J.R. Shepard still holding on to the outside in what should be 3rd position. After this all sorts out, you see Hargraves there trying to get himself up on the high side, but J.R. Shepard not going to let him do that. Wow, Proudfoot barely glancing off the outside wall there. Really lucky for him to keep that momentum going in the car. Ratley now has the opportunity, if he wants to, down the straightaway, kind of slide up behind Proudfoot there if he so chooses to do that. Inside line really looking strong right now for the time being. Not as fast as the high side right up against the wall. You see Menda making contact with the outside wall for the time being, getting all the way right up to the back bumper of J.R. Shepard. That's Billy Northcutt trying to hold on to the 4th or 5th position. You can still see all the cars getting into each other as they go into turn number 3. Proudfoot clear from the rest of the field for the lead. Johnny Ratley clears into 2nd position. That's Hargraves and Northcutt on the low side. They both started down low, trying to kind of sort themselves out here. Hargraves has the opportunity to get up if he would like to. Doesn't choose to do so. You can see J.R. Shepard still a little bit weaker compared to these drivers getting into the corners. It's been a conversation piece for the last couple of seasons of J.R. Shepard. He doesn't really like to throw the car into the corner for the reason you saw Menda do right there. You slap the outside wall, really upsets the car. J.R. Shepard does not like to do that. He'd rather enter at a decent speed where he doesn't have to glance the car off the wall. You see Menda doing that in the center of the corner this time by. Still Proudfoot out front, Ratley and Hargraves side by side for the 2nd and 3rd position. Then for 4th and 5th, going to be J.R. Shepard on the outside and Billy Northcutt on the inside. Jason Menda ready to take advantage if the high side starts to come in and the low side falls away. But the 2 drivers down there on the low side really putting up a pretty good fight to those guys up on the high side. I see J.R. Shepard still trying to fight there with Billy Northcutt on the high side. 2 cars hard into the wall. That's Hunter Hill and Christopher Hill. Those 2 cars running in the 7th and 8th position. That's exactly where they started. See Northcutt still trying to fight with J.R. Shepard on the low side. Brandon Proudfoot still up top. The top is still in session, as is class. Still schooling these guys at the front of the field. J.R. Shepard barely taps the wall there. You see Northcutt still on the inside. Not able to do much down there. It's a pretty lonely feeling right now. That's going to allow J.R. Shepard kind of blunting his momentum by making contact to the wall. Northcutt gets to the inside there. Relegates Shepard back into the 5th position. Allows Northcutt to get up on the high side. He'll grab 4th. Currently it's Proudfoot out front, then Johnny Ratley, then William Hargraves, still trying to get to the inside of Ratley for the second position. And you got Billy Northcutt in the fourth position. If a caution comes out, you're either going to want to be the leader or you're going to want to be the first car in the top lane. Just kind of follow that leader through, take advantage of the high side being dominant. So you want to be first or fourth. Second, of course, if the leader gets the lane choice, they choose the outside. You're kind of bone forced to start on the inside, and then if you're third, you're stuck on the inside no matter what. So you really don't want to be in an odd-numbered position at this track for the time being. Jason Menda still holding off a hungry pack of hounds behind him. Both the hills for the time being. Well, you see Joe Segala, Jeffrey Hart getting a little piece of one another as they enter turns number 1 and 2. Currently on lap number 12 of 40. Your leader is still Brandon Proudfoot to the tune of about 2 seconds over Johnny Ratley. He started to pull away and then for the most part has kind of been staying even with Ratley. The car rounding out the podium for the time being is William Hargraves, and you got Billy Northcutt in fourth, J.R. Shepard in fifth. These drivers continuing to get further and further spread apart, but for the most part the guys in third and fourth have done a really good job of staying close to each other while pulling away from J.R. Shepard. Unfortunately for those two, Johnny Ratley and Brandon Proudfoot have been pulling away from them. See Northcutt getting extremely loose. This is Chris Hill. He's in the 5 car, currently in 7th position. You can see him trying to use that low side. Interesting to see too there, Hunter Hill trying to work on the outside of him to see what he can do out there in that 12 machine. Not much going on right now, so the top side's still dominant, but you can certainly get it done on the low side. Hunter's doing a really good job, the slide job. Just unfortunate for him, Jason Menda is blocking the top side, so he can't really clear himself and get up there without hitting Menda or the 12 car of Hunter. This is Jeffrey Harden. This is a battle for 12th position. He's trying to look on the inside of John Wilson here. John Wilson up 3 spots, started in 15th after finishing last in his consolation race due to internet connection problems. So good to see these two battling out. We're two clean racers, especially on the dirt side. John's been getting faster and faster. This isn't one of his best tracks. But usually he is kind of up there inside the top 10 for sure. So not one of the best nights for John, but of course with all of his internet problems, you're kind of forced to blunt your evening there and only finish so well. We're almost halfway through the 40-lap feature affair tonight. Brandon Proudfoot still your leader. He's got about a half a second lead over Johnny Ratley. And after Ratley, there's another 0.7 of a second back to Billy Northcutt and William Hargraves. J.R. Shepard's been catching up to those two drivers for the last couple laps. Christopher Hill, has found a way around Jason Menda and Hunter Hill. So move Christopher in the 5 car up to position number 6. Battle you're watching on the screen right here. This is for 12th position. You see Wilson go down to the low side, leaving Hardin the outside. Hardin's still got to get a little bit closer here to see if he can't clear John Wilson there. If we can, I'd like to take a look here at the battle for the 6th and 7th position. These two, Jason Menda and Christopher Hill, they've been trading slide jobs for the last couple laps here. The last time through turns 1 and 2, Jason shot the car down to the inside of Christopher Hill, trying to pull the slide job. Didn't quite make it work. Momentum shifted back to the high side. Christopher Hill pulled back by him. This is the battle for 3rd place I was talking about just a second ago. J.R. Shepard's been catching up to the back of Billy Northcutt. Billy Northcutt was doing a great job of sticking with Hargraves for the most part, but after the last couple laps, Hargraves has been ever so slightly eking out an advantage here over Northcutt as we've got a caution out on track. See Cody Jones facing the wrong way in turns number 1 and 2. That was the cause for caution. Tries to do a 3-point turn here. You see the iRacing pace truck come off of pit road. Cody, obviously a lot of suspension damage to the right front part of his car. That's the replay of what brought out the caution. Lights out atop the iRacing pace truck as he leads the drivers down the backstretch for the final time before we go back to green flag racing. He's going to pull that truck onto pit road this time by, give command to the field back over to Brandon Proudfoot. Currently it's Proudfoot, Ratley, Northcutt, Hargraves, Christopher Hill, then J.R. Shepard is your top 5. Brandon Proudfoot fires off on the high side. He's practically going to clear Johnny Ratley by the time they get down into turns 1 and 2. You see Ratley all the way down on the low side trying to shorten up the distance around the track. Ratley, then Hargraves, going to move upwards. See Christopher Hill trying to see what positions he can make up on the high side. Billy Northcutt up there as well, kind of glancing off the wall. Really hard to get these cars off the wall after you've made contact with it. That's J.R. Shepard and William Hargraves down on the low side. If Shepard plays his cards right, he can clear in between Ratley and Northcutt. Whoa, super sideways. That was a 5 car. Christopher Hill there coming off at turn number 2. He's does a great job to straighten that thing up so we don't have one more caution. Of course, a wreck like that definitely going to take out a good couple of fast race cars. J.R. Shepard now has the opportunity to either throw the car into the turn, clear Northcutt, or just pull it behind him, kind of bide his time before more racing happens. Currently, Brandon Proudfoot still has a 0.3 of a second lead over William Hargraves. After Hargraves, it's a half a second back to Billy Northcutt. You can see the top side. This is where J.R. Shepard's really going to get in trouble if he can't put up too much of a fight on the low side. He'll be forced to be freight trained here by all the drivers on the high side. Unless there's kind of a gap, he can kind of slide himself up there. He is going to choose to do that this time by. That forces Christopher Hill to check up. It shoots him down the racetrack with that extra oversteer. J.R. Shepard blinks back into existence there to make sure he doesn't get doored by Christopher Hill as they come off the corner. Jason Menda fighting on the outside of Joe Segala. Joe trying to do whatever he can on the bottom side to make up as much positions as possible. Still running inside the top 10, but a pretty good night here for Joe. The leader is still Brandon Proudfoot. Class is still in session. 0.6 of a second up the field over Johnny Ratley. Then it's an additional half a second back to William Hargraves. Then an additional second, half a second, back to Billy Northcutt. Then J.R. Shepard right on the back bumper of Northcutt for the time being. Northcutt trying to choose a little bit of a hybrid line between the top side and the middle. 3/4 of the way up the track for the time being. Shepard not really able to take advantage of the gap that Northcutt is giving him up to the wall. This is the battle going on here. This is for 8th position. This is Segala, 7th. This is Menda on the high side, Segala in the middle, Hunter Hill all the way down there on the bottom. Those two drivers trying to see what they can do on the middle and the low side. They're pretty good for a lap or two. It gives these drivers a lot of confidence, but it's just so hard to make all these passes. You can be 1/10 or 2 of a second faster than the guy ahead of you, but if he doesn't give you the top, you're forced to kind of ride behind him. As is evident here, you're right along with Billy Northcutt as he tries to defend here from J.R. Shepard and Hunter Hill, Christopher Hill, in the 5 car just behind him. Jason Menda now getting his nose up into this mess. Taps the outside wall, gets the car a little bit loose off the back straightaway here. We're inside 10 laps to go this time by. Coming down to 9. Billy Northcutt still leaving J.R. Shepard about a couple car widths off the top side. Very aggravating if you're Shepard, knowing that you're this much faster, but you just can't make anything to do with it because it's really hard to pass here. You're going to have to pull a slide job or kind of upset the car ahead of you just a little bit coming off the corner, forced him to get loose and give you the top side. J.R. Shepard still kind of biding his time for the moment, still riding in that 5th position. If you're J.R. Shepard, you really want to get up to 4th because that is a guaranteed outside starting spot. Really sideways though is Jason Menda in the middle of the corner trying to get around Christopher Hill. Bobby Hayes makes his way in the 13 machine up into the 8th spot. You see Joe Segala down low behind those drivers. This is Johnny Ratley and William Hargraves. Hargraves has been slowly reeling in Hartley for the most time. This is for the 2nd position. See Ratley giving it all they can up on the high side, as is Hargraves. It's one thing to catch a guy, it's a completely different thing to pass him. It's going to be really challenging to see what Hargraves can do just behind Ratley. Still stalking him for the most part. The battle we were just showing you between Northcutt, Shepard, Hill, Menda. Those 4 are all running in the same positions. If you're ever curious how they're running, you can look on the left-hand side of your screen. It'll show you that it's, of course, live timing and scoring. You see the gaps changing each and every second around the racetrack. Whoa, bit of contact there. Christopher Hill, Jason Mender. We're going to keep the camera locked on this battle, though. This is second position. You see Johnny Ratley trying to hunt down Brandon Proudfoot. This is the closest he's been this run since about halfway through. The gap was half a second. Right now down to 0.3 of a second. Ratley really giving it all the beans he can to try and see if he can't catch up to Proudfoot here. You see Hargraves just behind these guys. How we see Hargraves even being dropped here by Jonathan Ratley. Ratley now all the way up to the back bumper here, Brandon Proudfoot. He's going to make it an interesting 4 laps to go. You're looking at the 3 podium positions on your screen right here. The battle we were talking about a couple seconds ago. It's still Billy Northcutt, J.R. Shepard, Christopher Hill, Bobby Hayes, and Jason Menda. Those 4 cars have been run down by the other group. Bobby Hayes has passed Jason Menda for the 7th position. We're going to keep the camera locked here on the top 3 cars. They're going to get the 2 to go signal from behind the flagman this time by. If you're Johnny Ratley, you're going to start to set up Brandon Proudfoot here. I expect to see a slide job on the white flag lap going into turns number 3 and 4. I expect to see Ratley kind of try that. He's going to stay up on the high side. Got William Hargraves just behind him, a couple Dirt Panda Racing teammates here. Whoa, you saw Ratley get into the wall just a little bit. He looks down to the inside, all the way down to the wall, see if he can clear Proudfoot here. Not quite. Proudfoot going to come back around the outside. Momentum still up there. We're going to see what Ratley can do here in turns 3 and 4. Shoots the car down to the bottom. They're side by side, neck and neck in the middle of the corner. But, of course, that just means Brandon Proudfoot's going to, of course, have the momentum on the high side. Brandon Proudfoot wins the race here at Eldora Speedway. Johnny Ratley second. William Hargraves finishes in third. Those are your podium finishes. We're going to let the rest of the field kind of trickle through here. We're going to go across the finishing order and, of course, as always, interview our top 3. Brandon Proudfoot wins, Johnny Ratley in second, William Hargraves is third, Billy Northcutt is fourth, J.R. Shepard rounds out your top 5. Christopher Hill comes home in 6th, followed by Bobby Hayes in 7th. Jason Menda finishes in 8th with Hunter Hill and Jeffrey Harden rounding out your top 10. Joe Segala finishes in 11th with John Wilson recovering to finish 12th after the internet connection problems he had. D.V. Runkle finishes in 13th with Kevin Nunn in 14th with Ryan Seneker, and 15th Cody Jones rounds out your 16-car field. We're going to take a quick break and be right back to interview our top 3 finishers. We'll be back right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dirt Street Stock Series. We're at Eldora Speedway. You're watching the Virtual Grip Network. We're going to interview our top 3 finishes here. The first of which is the man that started in third, William Hargraves. William, it was a pretty strong race all day long. Not really the end that you wanted, but still did a good job here to come away with the podium.
Yeah, overall, third place will work for tonight. Eldora is definitely not one of my strong suits, for sure.
William, we saw just how important it was to start and restart up on the high side, as well as kind of realize once the momentum was kind of shifted and cars were spread out, you really had to get up there to the high side before and losing any more positions. At the end, it looked like you and Johnny were running down Brandon. You ran down Johnny a lot earlier than Johnny run down Brandon. You think you had anything for the two of them?
No, I really don't, especially from a third place sitting spot there. The only way you're going to make a pass on it is do a slider, and I don't do very well doing them. I just try not to do them as much as possible if I don't have to, and they were faster for sure. I was just trying to follow them and stay in their line and do what they were doing. I struggle here, so it was okay though.
For sure. Well, William, obviously, congratulations on the podium. Before I let you go, buddy, is there anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Luell for putting this on for us, and you guys for doing the broadcast. I got to thank Viv's Retail Liquor, Malum Electric, Motorsales.com, Wild Bill's Race Designs, all my Dirt Panda Racing teammates, and everybody that watches and spectates every week.
Well, thank you, William. Congratulations once again, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Congrats, Brandon, on the win, and good run, Johnny.
It was William Hargraves. He came home in third position. Next up is the man that finished in the second spot, Johnny Ratley. Johnny, you came so close. No cigar tonight, though. Tell me about the race, man.
No cigar tonight. And it was a pretty good race at the beginning. It seemed like both lanes, bottom and top, was pretty good there. And after about 20 laps, man, the bottom kind of went away some, and it was just the top, pretty much. And I was just trying to stay behind Brandon and try to make him move right there, but it was just, I don't know, it seemed like he was hitting the wall. I don't know if it was, how iRacing shows him hitting the wall. I don't know if he was actually hitting it or not, but man, it was throwing me off a little bit. But I just couldn't never get close enough to his bumper to try a slider. I was right there though.
Yeah, you were really close for the longest part of that. Ran him down with about a couple laps to go, and it looked like you were going to be able to make something happen, but the inside just wasn't really working for you. If you had more laps, could you have done anything, or was the top side pretty much all there was tonight?
I think after about 20 laps, I think it was just the top side, yeah. On that late restart right there, I kind of struggled there for like the first couple laps. I think William was all over me right there. I thought maybe he was going to pass me on the bottom side because I struggled for a lap or two, and then I just found something, like you said, and I ran Brandon back down. I think I was faster than him right there at the end. I just couldn't never get right back to his bumper to even try anything. But I don't know. I wish iRacing would do something with this bottom groove a little bit so we can have a little bit more racing. But congrats to Brandon on the win, man. Good job, buddy.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Johnny. Before I let you go, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank my team, Dirt Panda, Wild Bill's Racing Designs. Big shout out to Viv's Liquor. I want to thank Lowell for the league, and all the guys that raced with us, man. It was a good, clean race, and I want to thank y'all for what y'all do, man. Y'all do an awesome job.
Well, thank you, Johnny. Congratulations on the P number 2. Hopefully next week you can finish one spot better.
10-4.
Thank you, Johnny. Next up in the interview booth, the man who won. Obviously, he said the top was in session. Class was in session today. Brandon, you led just about every lap in the race. I think you led every lap. I would consider that a Grand Slam. Maybe I'd have to look at the fastest lap there to see for sure. But of course, started the race on pole. Didn't qualify on pole, but once again, you were the fastest driver out there on track.
Yeah, as I said there in the warm-ups there, the top was in session, and I was able to really keep out distance for quite a while there. After that that one caution we had, tires got cold, made it a little bit more difficult, and towards the end, William and Johnny definitely had my number, but I held off there just enough.
Yeah, really, I mean, you could see that you pulled away on all the different starts and restarts. Was the car just not handling to your liking there? Because for the most part, you were pulling away and gapping these guys, especially on that first run, and even for the most part in the second run. It just seemed like in the last 10 laps or so, you kind of lost that magic you had. Was the car just handling different? Did you glance off the wall while we weren't looking?
Just used all of it up. After that we had that, I was pulling real far away, really hoping we were going caution free, just trying to put on as big of a gap as I could. And whenever you get a caution out, just like in real life iRacing, you kind of get a thing called glassing over, where you lose a little bit of grip. And you see me get it real sideways there for like the first 2 laps, just trying to get heat back in that right rear. Because whenever the tires get cold to me, they feel a lot more loose. And whenever I get into a rhythm, that'll mess with me. So for those first 2 laps, I really try to get the pressures back up to where it was before the caution, so I can get back into my groove. But grip was just starting to go away towards the end. Like I said, used everything up probably in the first, I'd say 25-30. The last 10, it was all Johnny William reeling me in. The only reason they didn't pass me is because they were bad on each other, I do believe.
Yeah, for sure, buddy. Well, Brandon, before I let you go, obviously you got to plug the sponsors, man.
Of course, Fist Holborn, Winners Get Whiskey, I'll take it first. General Tire, Vision Wheel, Next Level Racing, Rigid, Lowell, all the guys hosting the league. You here, Austin, for doing this all by your lonesome. God help you. Here at Virtual Grip Network, fiance, family, and friends that root me on, and got some work to do on the real life car, and off to Heston Speedway hopefully from tomorrow, and see what ends up there. Thanks, guys. Well, thanks, Scott.
Yeah. Well, now Mike's up here too. He's been doing a great job as always to get all the fantastic camera angles, and of course show the viewers at home stuff even I don't see above the racetrack. So thank you for your kind words, buddy. Congratulations on the win. Good luck as well in the real life tomorrow night.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brandon. That was your big winner here tonight, Brandon Proudfoot. Before we let you go, just want to plug the next 2 Virtual Grip Network dealios here. The next BRL Dirt Street Stock broadcast is going to be next Friday, June 24th from Weed Sports Speedway. That goes live at 7:10 p.m. Eastern. I'll be on the call with either John Hine or DJ Clark. The next Virtual Grip Network broadcast is going to be tomorrow, June 18th, where the BRL Super Late Model Series takes on Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. That goes live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. On behalf of myself in the booth, Austin Belke, Mike Yao, our director and cameraman, as well as everyone behind the scenes at the Virtual Grip Network, we thank you so much for watching, and good night.